And a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining me for another Conversations with Michael. It's one of my all time favorite programs and venues that all over the years, for almost 20 years now, the different things that Michael and I have been sharing. This one has really touched my heart. Excuse me, touched my heart in a way because so many of you that tune in to this particular venue are really committed, are so sincere about wanting to really have this relationship with your soul become real. We're going to talk about that today. In particular, why it's so difficult for our human nature to just trust in having that soul be in your life in such a way that feels comfortable for your own humanity. And that's been talked about for, well, let's say eons of time, as far as allowing our divine nature be in our life in a way that feels ultimately so comfortable. And that's why we created Earth, so that we could look at why is it not comfortable? What are we resisting here? What is it about being spirit also that has ended up becoming a problem? And again, that's not just specific to Earth. Earth is where we work it out. It's specific to our own galactic story. So, thank you all for joining me here today that we can explore even deeper how it is that we can live our life free of our own fears, live our life freed of so many of the limitations that we've inherited and some that, well, we've created ourselves, being the creators that we are. Let's take a deep breath together. And in that breath, let's allow these energies that are available here now to blend with the technologies that we are working with. Take another deep breath and feel into the group that is here today, both in person, online, those that will be listening to this recording at a future date who are also here in this moment, and to our friends and companions, to the entourage of non physical angels and other beings that are joining us every time we present anything through Ancient Wings. Of course, at the forefront of that entourage is my beloved friend Archangel Michael and Yeshua, but there's also many others here. So many of them are connected and related to each of you in a very personal way. They act in a way as a support team for all of you in a different way than they used to. Let's take another deep breath. Tune into what's going on with this family of humanity. It's a difficult time for a lot of people who really don't have the tools or the awareness on how to work with a change in consciousness. They don't even know how to work with their own heart. So there's a lot of confusion there for a lot of individuals. It's really easy to get caught up in feeling unfulfilled, caught up in not feeling anything and doing things that do great harm to other people. Let's take a deep breath and feel our own connection to our own soul nature. In that relationship, can we also act as a radiance, an elixir of light that impacts the lives of everybody around us? It certainly has impacted the health, well being of Gaia itself, this earth. Perhaps some of you have noticed throughout the course of this year, Earth has accommodated what so many of us individually have been working with. And perhaps a lot of you are noticing that it's now actually easier than it was before to stay in the energies that you have chosen to work with, to stay in a state of consciousness and stay connected to our own physical bodies in a way that's been very challenging in the past. Maybe a lot of you have noticed that because Earth has accommodated even more of the consciousness that we've invoked, that we've invited, our natural state of consciousness, that you're beginning to taste that it actually can be a lot of fun and very fulfilling, very rewarding to be here on Earth as a human being. That's new. That's new for a lot of us. And take another deep breath, finally, to thank yourself, love yourself, appreciate the courage it took for you to even be here. I know a lot of you have a lot of questions. I know a lot of you are feeling challenged by the changes, challenged by the conditions that you've inherited, challenged by the limitations that just don't let go. And at the same time, you're here because you have such a passion to be free, such a passion to honor the very gift that was granted to all of life from the source of life, from the mother and father of creation. The gift to be a individuated, unique, and divine identity that would always have within it a part of that source consciousness, but would also always have the freedom to choose to experience life as a creator in any way that you would want. I know a lot of you want more in your life than what you're receiving. And that's why we flood you from Ancient Wings with so many choices to plug in or to tune in to whatever workshop or whatever venue, whatever program, whatever service to help you wake up to that realization and to help you experience it. It's no longer satisfying just to believe, hope, and dream about these things, but never have a tangible relationship of how life truly will and can support whatever you desire. I get it for a lot of you. You feel incredibly frustrated because you've been following a lot of teachings, read a lot of books, went to a lot of workshops, and yet you're still lacking what it is that your heart desires. You still feel incomplete. And so it continues to be my joy to share with you in a very real and tangible way the relationship that I have with my own soul nature, part of that being Archangel Michael. For years, that way of presenting to us was called channeling, where we allowed then a counterpart of who we also are to come through us to give voice so that we could hear the clarity, the enthusiasm, the love, and the compassion that we weren't hearing within ourselves through our own thoughts And we certainly weren't hearing that from other human beings. And so channeling served a purpose for so many people for so many years that you could actually then either read about or hear from another being, another human being, something that felt so familiar. And yet, that too is in a major transition. I speak to you as Robert, who doesn't enjoy what I once enjoyed, separating myself by having one part of me channel for Archangel Michael and another part going back to being Robert, like all of you, dealing with Robert's own confusion, dealing with Robert's fears, my doubts, my worries, my concerns. And something shifted for me over time. I started to own the thoughts, the feelings, the energy, and the words that were coming through me as also being me. And that took a big leap for me to get comfortable with that. And the thing in me that stopped me more than anything else had a lot to do with how is humanity going to relate to this? Because, like a lot of you, there's not a lot of good stories of how others in our past have taken ownership of spirit, given voice to it. We don't see a lot of examples of fulfilled human beings that awakened to their own divinity, that embodied their own magnificence and were honored, respected. And so I get it with a lot of you who are tuned in today. You really don't know how this is going to fit if you fully let in the energies that so many of you already feel and begin to give voice to it. Not the voice that you're used to hearing and calling it your truth, but another voice, a fresh voice, a voice that doesn't have any doubts, that doesn't have any concerns, that doesn't worry, that shares such a profound wisdom because it's always been inside of us. We just didn't trust that it was there. We didn't trust that voice because the voice that we can own now without calling it channeling is a voice that respects our humanity. It's a voice that will not force its voice upon us. We have to do something so incredibly brave. We have to be willing to be so vulnerable to allow the voice of our own soul to not just be present energetically, but to give words to that presence, to share its wisdom through us, with us, as us.